Now that it is officially July and the middle of 2025, which is crazy, I wanted to do a little mid-year bookish reset with you guys. So what that looks like is today we're going to go through my 2025 stats so far and see kind of where we are. We're going to look back at the reading goals I set at the beginning of the year, which I haven't looked at that much, and kind of see where we're at with that. I'm also going to talk about what my favorite books of the year have been so far, and then also talk about some books that I really would like to get to before the end of 2025. So lots of just bookish chats and updates and just kind of refocusing our reading situation for the rest of 2025. So I'm going to start a little screen recording of my Notion page where I keep all of my stats. So it is July 16th when I'm recording this, so we're a little over halfway through the year officially, and I've read 46 books total, 40 fiction and 6 nonfiction, which we'll get to the nonfiction thing in a second with my goals, but I'm right on track. And then books read by month, you can see here, I read a ton of books in June. How did I read 10 fiction books in June? I guess I teach, so I'm off in June, so I guess I was just really reading a ton in June. That just seems really high to me, but so far for July, I've read 3. We did travel last week, so I feel like I was reading a little bit less. And then this is just something that shows the road to reading 100 books. My reading goal for this year was actually only 75, so I'm definitely on track for that. If I hit 100, I think that'd be really fun. And then this shows the 46 books by format. So I've read 35 in ebook form. I've been loving my Kindle recently, especially because I just tend to read before bed, and we've really switched to only red lights at night, wearing our red light glasses, all of that. And so it's really dark in our room when I'm trying to read. And so reading on my Kindle with my red light glasses is just like the perfect thing. And then I've read 9 physical books and 2 audiobooks. It says I've read 14,749 pages, which is really fun. And then I have the pages broken down by month. So again, you can see June definitely still winning, followed by April. And it's just crazy to think about how many pages you're reading. Like, that's insane. So this is just kind of the trajectory so far of the year. I don't know that I'm going to read 30,000 this year, but I guess it's July and I'm already around 15, so I guess it's definitely possible. Then here I have my author breakdown, so showing what authors I've read this year. You can see I've read the most of Emma St. Clair and Jenny Proctor because I've read the Oakley Island series by both of them, and then also I read the Appy series, and I think they also both wrote books in the Only Magic in the Building series, so I've been reading a ton of them this year, which is really fun. 3 by Jenny Han, which was The Summer I Turned Pretty, and like I said, it's July 16th when I'm filming this, which is the day that season 3 came out. I haven't watched the new episodes yet, and I've honestly been trying to stay off of social media because I've been watching a lot of edits and interviews and stuff about the new season, and I feel like if I get on Instagram, it will just be like spoilers and stuff, and I don't want to see it. I think me and Jackson are going to sit down and watch it tonight. So, and then I've also read 2 Abby Jimenez, 2 Courtney Walsh, Savannah Scott, Sophie Cousins, and then all the rest of these are just 1. So I think that's kind of fun. And then it also shows average scores by author, so you can see like which authors I've been loving. So like Courtney Walsh and Annabelle Monaghan makes sense that they're like at the top for me. Abby Jimenez, a lot of my nonfiction authors are towards the top just because I tend to rate those books very highly for the most part. If I'm picking up a nonfiction book, I really like the author or the topic. And so I'm just way more picky about those. I read way less of them, so I tend to rate them a lot higher. So then next we have days to finish, so how long it takes me to finish a book, which I feel like this can vary a ton. Some fiction books I finish in a day or 2, and then nonfiction books can take me weeks, a month, more than that to read. And so 6.89 is my average. And then for this is it broken down by month. I feel like the ones that are higher tend to be months that I finished a nonfiction book, and so you're getting a higher mix. June and July, I really don't think I've finished a nonfiction book. Maybe 1, so that's why they might be a little lower. So then we have the types of books I've read. So we already said 40 fiction, 6 nonfiction. These are the average scores, so I tend to rate nonfiction, like I said, just a little higher. This is the genre breakdown, which I think is interesting. It overlaps a little bit, so it won't add up perfectly to 46 because some books I might tag as like romance and women's fiction or literary and romance or whatever. So 40 romance, you can see what kind of reader I am. And then 4 young adult, 3 literary, 3 self-help, 2 Christian, 2 women's fiction, 1 fantasy, 1 memoir. And I do feel like this will change a little bit as we go into fall and winter. I tend to read a little more fantasy, a little more literary, so I feel like spring and summer is just meant for romance. And then what else do I have here? Oh, average score by genre. So I've only read like 1 memoir, so I feel like that's kind of skewed, but you can see on average what I kind of rate what I read. And then genre by month. So this is kind of cool to see, like, okay, so in June I didn't read 15 books. I think I read 11. So like mostly romance. I read a literary, Christian, and then some young adult, which I think were the Summer I Turned Pretty series. And then lastly, I have my average book length, which is around 320 pages. And then by month, you can see in February, I read a lot of like short stories around Valentine's Day and stuff. So I feel like that pulled that one a little bit lower. But yeah, so those are my stats for 2025 so far. I feel like it's been just a really good reading year, and I'm just really excited to see what the rest of the year is going to hold. Okay, so now switching over to my reading goals for this year. I set these at the beginning of the year and honestly hadn't thought about them until like a week or two ago when I was thinking about this video and kind of went in and updated them a little bit. So let's talk about them. First, I put read 1 poetry book. I don't really know where this came from because I've never read poetry, but when I was growing up, I would write songs, and like I have this whole yellow folder, such a nostalgia thing for me, just where I would stuff like papers that I had written songs on. And yeah, why am I like getting tears in my eyes? It's just I loved writing, and I think that poetry is obviously very similar to lyrics and the kind of writing that you use, and you have to be very specific about what words you choose and the order and the story and all of that. And so I just love it. So I wanted to read a poetry book. I specifically picked All Along You Were Blooming, which is by Morgan Harper Nichols. I just feel like her poetry is short and sweet, but beautiful and has beautiful graphics. And I feel like that will be a good, like, dip my toes into something somewhat familiar. And then I hope that if I enjoy that, that will lead me into more and more poetry. I'm just not super familiar with the genre. So if you have a poetry book that you like love, let me know. So that's that goal. I also put I wanted to read at least 1 classic. I honestly want to read more than just one. I want to do a whole video in the fall, I think, reading like, or rereading books that I had to read in like high school that are more classics, and kind of seeing what I think now as a 25-year-old versus when I was 16 reading them. But for the new classic I want to read, I picked Persuasion by Jane Austen. I feel like Jane Austen, when you think of classics, is just a classic, and I really want to read one of her books. And this one, I feel like the storyline appealed to me the most. I think it's a little bit shorter, and so I feel like this will be a good one to start with. I think it's like second chance, which I love. So I'm excited and nervous to pick that one up, but I feel like it will be a good like summer, fall transition book to pick up. Then I also had that I want to read 1 nonfiction book a month. This is just kind of what feels good for me in terms of just a rhythm for reading nonfiction, but not overwhelming myself. And so I've actually stuck to this so far this year. You can see I read God Has a Name, The Anxious Generation, Create a Life You Love, Dinner for Vampires, Sacred Pathways, The Let Them Theory, and I'm currently reading The Artist's Way. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that puts me right on track so far. It's July, so 7. I will say The Artist's Way, I'm going to read over the course of like 12 weeks. It's like a 12-week course. So that one's going to probably take me more than just a month, so I might have to start another one while I'm reading that, but I am very proud that I'm staying on track with this. Then I put read 1 memoir, which at the very beginning of the year I read Dinner for Vampires by Bethany Joy Lenz, and so I can already check this one off. I put read 1 book a month from my physical TBR, and honestly, I need to show you guys sometime. I have like maybe 10 or 15 books in my physical TBR. I have a very small one. We just have one little bookshelf, and once I read a book, if I love it and rate it 5 stars, I keep it. Otherwise, I donate it. And yeah, I really don't have that many, and yet I haven't read many of them. So I am planning to read a lot of them. I just haven't quite gotten to this. So I think there's 6 on here, and it's July. So I'm close. So I'm hoping I can still hit this, but I also, Everything's Coming Up Rosie and The Artist's Way are books that I bought and then read, which still counts. And then Fearless is also one I bought when it came out and read. And The Anxious Generation I bought for a book club and read. And I think God Has a Name came out like re-released in January and I read. But it still counts. I just need to do better about reading the older books on my physical TBR, or if I'm not going to read them, just get rid of them. So this is your sign. Go check your physical TBR. If there's something on it that you just don't feel like you're going to read, get rid of it, because there's no use in having that clutter for your mind or your bookshelf. Next, I put reread 3 favorite books. I just never reread books, and I want to do that more. Like, there are books like Everything's Coming Up Rosie that I just finished that, like, when I finish, I know, like, oh, I can't wait to reread this. And then I never do. So I want to do better about that. I haven't done that yet, but I honestly feel like fall and winter time is a really good time to like cozy up and reread books. So I feel like I'm going to do that then. I just need to pick those out. That's the only category I haven't really picked out what I want to do yet. And then last, I just have my overall goal of reading 75 books, and I've tagged all of them here. But I'm at 46, like I said. So, okay, now I wanted to kind of talk briefly, hopefully, about some of my favorite books so far of 2025. So my favorite nonfiction book by far is Dinner for Vampires by Bethany Joy Lenz. This is her memoir about her life from growing up to One Tree Hill to life beyond, and her experience in a cult. And this was just so intriguing to me, and I feel like her writing was so vulnerable and raw and honest, and I really loved the way that she told her story. It was emotional, and I felt for her and connected to her, and I just thought this memoir was so well done and so interesting. And I listened to the audiobook, which I would highly recommend. She narrates it, and yeah, favorite nonfiction book of 2025. I feel like that says all it needs to say. I guess so far, it's only July, but I feel like this one will stay at the top. So then for fiction, I have a few favorite books and a few favorite series. So my top favorite fiction book so far this year is Everything's Coming Up Rosie by Courtney Walsh. I just finished this like last week and fell in love with this story with Rosie. It basically follows Rosie, who is feeling lost in life, and she gets this job, and it's unknowingly at a retirement community. She gets this like director working on a production of Cinderella job, and she thinks it's like a regional theater company job, and it's actually a retirement community. I loved everything about this book. Rosie, her character development, her journey she goes on just in like the women's fiction aspect of the story, along with the romance aspect with Booker and all the characters. It's very much an ensemble cast. The theater aspect, like I just related to Rosie a lot, connected to this story with the theater. It's just, this is like my perfect book. So I also just love Courtney Walsh's writing and all of that. And so this was perfect. I loved it. Favorite fiction of 2025 so far. Other honorable mentions for fiction books are Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This one follows Xavier and Samantha and their relationship, essentially just battling storm after storm that I feel like life is throwing at them that's trying to pull them apart. And I just loved the way they fought for their relationship from page 1. Like, I just love this story, love Abby Jimenez's writing, so that's definitely a top one for the year. And then also It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan, following Jane and Dan. I loved the childhood actor aspect of this, seeing Jane kind of come into who she was as an adult and grapple with some of those stories that she told herself and about her life. And yeah, again, love Annabelle Monaghan's writing and just this story, the East Coast setting, Dan's family. I have a whole reading vlog on this, so I don't feel like I need to share my entire thoughts. You can go watch that if you want more, but I love this one as well. Perfect for summer. And then lastly, for my favorite series I've read so far this year is the Only Magic in the Building series. When they announced this series, I was so excited and I was not disappointed. It's all no spice romance written by some of our favorite no spice authors with like magical realism mixed in a small town with this like found family in this apartment building. It was just so perfect to me. And my favorite book in the series is Petals and Plot Twists by Jenny Proctor. This is a friends to lovers story, which I love, that follows Peter and Sophie and has like a gardening aspect with like flowers, which I feel like was perfect for the springtime. I'm obsessed with this series. I think it's perfect. I think it's one of my favorite no spice and just series of all time. And then honorable mentions for series, I also read the whole Appy series this year, which I love. This is a hockey romance series that has one of the best found families I've ever read. Absolutely love this one. And then also the Oakley Island series by Emma St. Clair and Jenny Proctor. This one kind of surprised me. I just picked it up for like a summery beach read, but wow, the family in this and the sister dynamic and the island and the found family on the island. The third book in this one, Sadie and the Bad Boy Billionaire, was my favorite. It had a little bit of like suspense going on, which I had a lot of fun with. Yeah, I love this one. Emma St. Clair and Jenny Proctor wrote in like all of these series, so I feel like they're a common thread for me right now, and those are my honorable mentions for series as well. So then lastly, I just kind of wanted to chat about a few of the books that I am hoping to read in the second half of 2025. So first, I have a few that I want to read in specific seasons. So for finishing out summer, I want to read Summer Romance, which I'm actually starting today. So that's going to get checked off. And then I also really want to read The Summer of Yes by Courtney Walsh. This one's also one on my physical TBR, which I want to prioritize the second half of the year to meet that reading goal I set. And then for the fall time, I really want to read Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. I feel like this will be a really good summer fall transition book, and this one has magical realism with music. I feel like I'm gonna love this one. I also really want to read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've read like her entire backlist now, I think, except for Forever Interrupted, but I haven't read her like interconnected Daisy Jones and the Six situation. So I really want to get to this one. Again, Daisy Jones I think is music related, and yeah, I just feel like I would really like this one and it would be perfect for the fall time. And then lastly, for like a seasonal one, I want to read Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. I feel like I will love this as like a more fairy tale-esque fantasy. I wanted to read this one in the springtime because I feel like the fairy tale is very springy, but I just didn't get to it, and I feel like any fantasy is perfect for the fall time too. I also have 3 arcs that I have been given on NetGalley, which I'm so excited about, that I need to get to in the next month or two, honestly. And so those are definitely going on my list to finish. So I have The Second Story Bookshop by Denise Hunter, which comes out I think in October, I want to say. I also have You Make It Feel Like Christmas by Sophie Sullivan, which I have loved some of her books, so to have a Christmas one is so fun. It's just a little weird to have the arc because I'm going to be reading it in like July and August, but I think this one also comes out in October. And then I also got Cover Story by Mari McFarlane. I've been wanting to pick up one of her books and couldn't figure out what to start with first, so why not her newest release in arc form? I'm so excited about these. And speaking of new releases, I have a few that I don't have arcs for that I'm just excited about that are coming out later this year. So we have Fake Skating by Lynn Painter, which is her new young adult hockey romance. We also have Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, which is set in the same world as Divine Rivals, which if you watched my channel last year, you know I loved Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows, like favorite fantasy, one of my favorite books I read last year, so very excited about that. And then I would also love to read Glorious Rivals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I know lots of people aren't loving the spinoff series of the Inheritance games, but I love the Inheritance games and I still think the spinoff series is so fun. I just have a good time reading them, so I would like to pick that one up as well. And then lastly, I have a few books off of my physical TBR that I really want to finish. Let me go get them. So first we have The Women by Kristen Hanna. This one takes place during the Vietnam War, and I read Firefly Lane, and I want to say I read one of her other books. What did I read? I haven't read The Nightingale, which I still need to, but I definitely want to read this one because it's on my physical TBR. I also want to read The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley by Courtney Walsh, especially after reading Everything's Coming Up Rosie, which was my first book by her that was more women's fiction with romance, not just her romance, and this one's also women's fiction with romance, and so this one's just all about happiness, and I feel like this will be a perfect summer to fall transition kind of read. And then I already mentioned The Summer of Yes. I just grabbed it so I could show you this vibrant colored cover, but definitely want to get to this one before the end of summer. I also have Normal People. I bought this at like a library book sale. I think it was like $1. It's kind of sticky on the bottom, honestly. Would love to read this one. I feel like this would be a perfect fall book, and I've never read a book by Sally Rooney either, so I feel like this would be a really good one to pick up and kind of dip my toe a little bit out of my comfort zone. I also have The Good Part by Sophie Cousins. This is a book that I think I've mentioned on my channel before. Like, I feel like I'm gonna love this, and so I keep putting it off and I haven't picked it up yet. But this one, I specifically want to read this one like right around New Year's. And so I feel like that's just a very short time of the year. And if I don't read it then, I'm like, well, gotta wait until next New Year's, which is silly. But I feel like the fall time would still be a perfect time to read this as you're kind of brainstorming for the new year and feeling reflective and all of that. And so I definitely want to finally get to this one before the end of 2025. And then lastly, I have this brick of a book, which is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. My dad read this, I want to say last year, because I recommended it to him, even though I hadn't read it yet, but I knew he would like it. And he did, and he gave me his copy, and I need to finally read it, honestly. I feel like I will like this. I would like to try a Stephen King book. I would like to get out of my comfort zone a little bit. Gosh, this thing is heavy. I'll definitely be downloading it on my Kindle because I feel like holding this book, especially like trying to read in bed, would be so hard. But this is like a historical fiction, fantasy, time travel, romance book. I feel like it has all the genres. I mean, it has room for it. So I don't know if you could hear my wrist pop when I did that. That was really loud, but would love to pick this one up as well. And again, perfect for the fall time. Specifically, would love to read this on 11/22, maybe? Just an idea. And that is everything I had planned for my little bookish reset to do with you guys. I am feeling very excited, very hopeful, very organized for the rest of the reading year. I'm very excited to do some reading vlogs, like I mentioned, step out of my comfort zone a little bit, read what's on my physical TBR, all of those things. And I'm excited to continue to document and share that with you guys, so make sure you're subscribed as well. And if you're looking for something to watch next on my channel, I will leave this video here for you guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. Take care, friends.